So there's a disconnect. In your online life, your reflexes are sharp, you're top of the leaderboards, you have the best gear, and then you log off excited to get back in there and improve your skills. You know what you're going to do the next day, you have a clear path, you know what movements you have to do better, you're excited to come back. But right before you go to bed, there's that moment of anxiety. You know you have that long list of things you wanted to accomplish and they haven't been touched since before New Year's even. You have this list of goals that aren't moving. Your apartment's a mess, maybe your relationship is in shambles, or maybe you don't even have one. Why? Why can you be so good at something and then seemingly be feeling like a failure, not knowing where to go, being stuck in the same loops in your actual life? Well, I know what this is like. I was addicted to video games for a long time. I don't like to regret those days, those years, because frankly, I had a lot of fun. I made a lot of memories. I spent a lot of fun moments with friends. And to be honest, they gave me a lot in my life. But if I was to apply even some of the hours that I spent playing video games to where I am now, or even just to apply them to the goals I had back then and actually move forward in those, if I knew how, well, my life would look very different. There's no regret here, but I do want to share what I've learned and the steps I've taken to get me from just being an addicted gamer who didn't really have any momentum in life to actually now somebody who has a purpose, who has consistency, who's fit, who has a clear mind and a clearer and clearer conscience as I deal with the things that I could have dealt with a long time ago. Just in hopes that you don't make the same mistakes as me, because we all have the tools available to us to move ourselves forward. And some of this is knowledge, a lot of it though is practice. So the first thing that video games give you that you don't really get in life is clarity. Video games have the blessing of a clear quest line, which you can jump into any time, and then there's this comfort of clarity, knowing that what am I going to do next? Oh, right, I'm on this quest line. You'll even sometimes get a journal that will tell you where you were so you don't feel a little bit lost. Because our mind loves clarity. Our mind loves knowing how it's going to take all these resources, this energy, this attention, and move it towards some direction that's going to give results. Your mind loves to be validated in that journey. It loves to know that the direction I'm going is going to be beneficial to me. And your mind doesn't know what's beneficial. It doesn't differentiate between a quest line somewhere in the Midwest or outer space, between that quest line and you striving for that promotion, getting that raise. It doesn't make that differentiation. It can't see, but it relies on you to make the meaning. And this brings us to the second component of what video games give us, which is hyper novelty and dopamine. Games really lean into dopamine. They keep you coming back because they give you this reward cycle. And it's always new. There's always something new going on. You're also not sure what's going to happen next, especially in multiplayer games, or like when I used to play World of Warcraft, you had a sense of what was happening in the world, but you didn't know what the quest line was going to give you. You didn't understand what other players were going to do. Was I going to get killed? Your mind loves this novelty because it keeps your attention sharp. That's why you can play games for hours and hours and hours without even getting up. But pursuing your goals is not really that rewarding. You're going to get exhausted pursuing your goals because not only is the path not clear, there's this vast world that's in front of you that you could go in any direction. You could fail in any one of these directions, but also you're not being rewarded as often. And often pursuing your goals takes a lot longer than leveling up in a video game. And that sucks. Your mind doesn't like that. So what do? How do you make your life clear? Nobody is giving you a user's manual. And if you spend your time online looking for what is your ultimate purpose, you're going to be fed things that maybe don't align with who you are, and the things that align best with your skills, your abilities, You're going to want something that you create yourself. Trust me, I know this because I spent a long time pursuing a path out of safety. And ultimately, I felt so deflated knowing that there was more I could do for the world using my abilities, using my talents, using the things that I already possessed within myself. And I was also going to benefit more from that. There was a mission that I had in life. Once I discovered who I was, what I was good at, and the things that I could share with the world. And that comes from a Japanese principle called ikigai. It utilizes who you are individually as a person, your unique characteristics, your unique disposition, what you're uniquely good at and suited for. But it also puts into account, what can I get paid for? Blending all those three together has helped me immensely to feel emotionally at peace with what I'm doing, knowing that I have things that I'm already given in terms of talents and predisposition, so I don't have to battle myself. I don't have to waste that energy and burn myself out. And so I apply this to a thing I do once a year. It's something I call a future authoring exercise. I didn't coin the term, but it is a practice of defining what my life looks like, not just this month, this year, but what is my mission in life? How can I apply that ikigai, the things I'm good at, to a path that extends far beyond this year, far beyond next year, into 10 years from now? What do I want my life to look like? It extends far beyond this year, far beyond next year. It extends past 5 years from now so that I could set goals today and set up systems now that can yield results that are 10 years down the line. Another factor of video games that really make them appealing, more appealing than life, is the reward mechanisms. Once we become adults, there's nobody really validating us, other than often strangers online, which, what do they know about us? But their validations are often the only things we get. So if you think about it, if you are not validating your path forward, who's congratulating you for the work you're doing? There's no grades anymore. There's just a bank account, really, showing us how good we're doing. This ties into my new net worth idea that men are not supposed to just work for a financial amount, that is not the most fulfilling thing to strive for, that it is not even a good measure of success, because we don't take into account what we give to people, what we're doing with our lives, how creative we're being, and how we feel. That is, I believe, a much better marker of net worth. So that's why it's so important to reflect and to practice gratitude. Because if you don't practice gratitude, you're not congratulating yourself for the things you've already done. And so nobody is potentially doing that. You're simply getting feedback from the internet, and the internet can't be relied upon. It's not a consistent, reliable, dependable ally on this journey of life. Whereas in video games, you're given allies, you're given points, you're given these fantastic, dazzling colors and effects that really tickle your mind in a way that harkens back to really, really ancient times when these colors were only found in nature, when you found a really, really nourishing and sugar-rich food. And that was something your brain locked onto. It saw it as super valuable because it meant that you can store some fat in your body and you would be alive for longer. It's a very ancient mechanism that's being capitalized on in video games. Keeps you coming back because you want to see more of those colors in life. Another reason that you are more likely to succeed in a video game than you are in real life, and the real reason why your mind doesn't want you to progress in real life, is because of pain. Pain is a real thing. And it's a lot more appetizing and enticing to pursue behavior that has guaranteed ease to it. Video gaming is not hard. It's challenging mentally, sure, and it can test your nervous system and your reflexes for sure. But there's no pain. There's no real pain. There's just a little bit of an ego pain if you're not succeeding. It's a lot more difficult and a lot more painful if you try something new. If you're trying to start a business, if you try to talk to that beautiful person, you don't get accepted. You don't get accepted at that college. Your business idea fails. Those are pains that your body is wired to avoid. Your mind looks at those ideas and there's so much uncertainty there that also means that there's so much potential pain there. And your mind is very unlikely going to pursue those things if there's an opportunity to experience rewards, bright colors, a clear path in the digital realm. If you want to feel some inner peace in life, this is something you're going to have to face. Now, I don't want you to feel that there's always going to be pain, but pain is one of the only constants. Pain is one of the only certainties we have in life. And I can't remember the concept right now, but there is this idea of you becoming more resilient when you actively face pain. You choose things that might potentially be painful, but you choose to do things that are physically difficult or simply difficult in any respect, whether it's reading a book, learning an instrument, starting a business. Going to the gym is the most accessible one. These are discomforts which are accessible to you. And if you face them actively, your mind gets this confidence loop that it's resilient, that you are resilient, that you have what it takes to meet discomfort and that the world isn't going to fall apart. You don't get a gold star, you don't get a whole bunch of points for it, but when you lay your head down at night, you have a sense of peace. And if you don't reflect on that sense of peace, you don't get that reward mechanism that video games will give you by seeing your points stack up, getting that piece of gear that you've seen. These things you have to actively take a role in. And it might seem like work, but the satisfaction and the fulfillment that I feel now in my life, the peace that I can look back on my life and say, okay, yes, I'm making forward momentum. There's less pain in my life than there was before. There's less pain in the lives of other people as a result of what I'm doing now in my life or what I've done in the past. It's incredibly rewarding. And it feels great to wake up in the morning and have drive, have direction, have a momentum that I've built over time, pursuing my goals and not languishing in these mental loops, this chaos of calling in sick, of deciding to stay home just so I can feel safe and comfortable, actually actively having a say in my life. It feels incredibly rewarding. And I want this life for you because it is accessible by simply leaning into these mechanics of the mind. Then, of course, there is the dark aspect of dopamine that everyone knows lingers in video games. This is what keeps us complacent. It's the thing that makes us feel like we're advancing in life. And we don't feel it necessarily like I feel cold or I feel rewarded on the surface. It placates our mind on such a deep level. And this is why you could play games for hours and hours and hours. And only after a really long time, perhaps for you, it starts to feel painful and you start to feel nauseous and just exhausted with what you're doing and want something else. Dopamine is such a deeply ingrained system within you. The hunt for dopamine, the hunt for reward, that pursuit, which if you don't actively take a role in, again, defining what gives you dopamine, you're going to be complacent playing video games for hours and hours at a time. That energy that you could spend improving your life, doing the things that improve your health, your relationships, pursuing that hobby that you're just really curious about and want to see where it can take you. Those things, those activities are going to go untouched. They're going to go unpursued. In the meantime, you're going to have digital points. But then that nagging feeling that you could be doing more with your life is going to remain. Simply because you've leaned into your mind's automatic desire to have reward, to have that pursuit of novelty, that pursuit of reward, be satisfied by something digital instead of something really real. And take it from me, it's not too late to start. Because regardless of how far you go from the point where you are right now in life, how far you go is not a metric anybody but you can decide. Nobody can judge you because nobody really knows what they're doing anyway. They're always operating from a perspective that's going to project their own ideas, their own biases, their own perspectives of knowledge, where they're at in life, even how much they ate that day or how much they've slept. That's going to be put into the judgments they have on you. You cannot rely on anybody's judgment to be factual, realistic, or even reliable, so just don't. I know this says just don't. But we have a definite need to belong socially. So I'm not saying don't be social at all. Don't rely on anybody's opinion, because you do have to be social. You do have to fit in some degree. Otherwise, there's going to be a whole nother aspect that's you're going to feel discontent about. But what I am saying is you decide what good enough is, what far enough is. So if you start today, but you're later on in life, ask yourself, who is defining that? Where is it written that you have to be successful at this point? Or that you should be making this much money at this point in your life? Look instead for examples of people who broke that mold and still experienced success. There are tons of examples of people that experienced success later in life, who started a new venture later in life. The internet is full of it. That's the beautiful thing, is you can look through the internet for evidence of anything. But I would suggest you look for evidence of people who have started later if you feel behind. That was a bit of a tangent. But what do we do about this complacency? What do we do about this sense of feeling like we need to spark ourselves forward and actually start to make progress in life? I like to think of my own death. The Tibetan Buddhists had this idea that they would practice their own death because it put things into perspective. I mean, ultimately, we don't know when we're going to die. And this might get a little dark for you, but just hang on. Because what I use this practice for is to bring me back into perspective, bring me back into reality, and help me make my priorities the correct ones. For me, not for anybody else. The priorities that will bring me peace in life. If I was to die tomorrow, or in the next instant even, I would not want to spend these moments of my life regretting, being nasty to people. I would not want these last moments to be anything but relishing and nourishing. And because I have this greater goal that I've set for myself, I want to spend these moments moving towards that goal, practicing the habits that bring me peace, the habits that enrich my life and the lives of those around me. And I'm not perfect at this, of course. But as I practice this, I get a lot more appreciative of what I have, because I realize that if these were the last moments of my life, why wouldn't I appreciate what I had? Not just the physical things around me, but even just the awareness I have, the ability to sense, the ability to transform my life. These are incredible gifts that we humans get as just being a conscious being. Ultimately, the thing that helped me the most was to rewire my patterning in my mind. It broke so many perspectives that I had about who I was, because it showed me that what was often guiding my behavior was outdated patterning of what my younger self still wasn't getting. It was an outdated pattern that was looking for validation in other places. Literally, my screen addiction came from me seeing my father and my friends around me have these computers. My father was really interested in this computer that we got, and at the time he was so busy, and so he didn't spend much time with me. And at the time I saw that if I maybe got good at this computer game, he would be impressed, because he was impressed by this computer. It was very special. And my friends, of course, they had computer games. I wanted to fit in and belong and be like them. But this pattern, if it went unchanged, it wouldn't really benefit me at all, because I don't need the approval of my friends anymore. I don't need to fit in all the time. I found out what that pattern was by going into my deep mind and finding what that wiring was. What's interesting is when you go into that deep mind, your critical mind shuts off. So it just understands. oh, this is ridiculous what I'm doing here. I'm still complaining about that mistake I made as a kid. I'm still worried that people are going to judge me based on what I'm wearing. Your deep mind has no concept of right or wrong, but it has a concept of what you want in life. And when you feed it in that state, in that subconscious state, if you feed it the fact that I want to start making progress in life, I want to start having better focus, I want to go to the gym more, I want to be good at working towards my business, whatever it is, your mind just says, okay, that's cool. That's the goal we have now. And I'm going to pursue that for you instead of this old pattern that's just pursuing simple rewards. It's just simply returning nothing but temporary pleasure. If you're still here, thank you so much. My name is Gregory, and I appreciate you taking the time and the attention to improve the way your mind works. My mission here is to help men all around the world hack their minds to serve their mission better, so that they can make more money and enjoy more fulfillment. If you're interested in more, I would love if you subscribed and help this small channel out reach the men that are interested in serving their mission better, improving their lives by improving their minds. That's all from me. I look forward to talking with you sometime soon. Until then, peace and take care of yourself.